Vintage Vikings, what's up? Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome, welcome. We have a great show for you tonight. We are going to be going over our all-time Vikings 22 or starting 11 on each sides of the ball. Our third co-host, Bill, possibly will be joining us. We're not quite sure. He's still having some audio issues. If anybody knows an Apple technician who wants to travel out to Bill's house or something, we would really appreciate that. If anybody knows anything like that, I'm sure Bill would appreciate it too. I think his iPhone problems are having an issue. So, yeah, Tony, what do you think about our show we got going on tonight, which is going to be our all-time Vikings 22 on both sides of the ball?
I'm excited. I'm excited. There's a couple of differences between mine and Bill's teams, but for the most part, they're exactly the same. Um, and I'll explain why I've got certain people on there and why I don't have certain people on there. So there's gonna be a lot of. I'm sure there's going to be some people that are going to be like, "What? You don't have this person? You don't have that person?" There's a reason I don't have them on there. Not to say they didn't
Yeah,
do anything for the team, but who I've got ahead of them and on the list set the standards for Minnesota Vikings football. That's why I do that.
and
So,
again, totally subjective, right? This is just our list. Everybody can have their own list. That's why we do this, so we can have a discussion and engagement, with each other,
yep,
and then we can even disagree with each other too. So that's what's great about this and doing this with Tony and Bill and you guys. So,
yeah.
um, yeah, with that, I mean, we are going to get into our list. We'll start with Tony's list first. So here's just what we have broken down, a little bit of our X's and O's, right? So these are the positions we'll go over. We'll kind of go over each side of the ball. Kind of interchangeable. You could be running, two wide receiver set or having a second running back, but we'll go over all that as well. So we're going to go one by one, and we are just going to let Tony rocket fire, and we totally appreciate you guys coming in. And yeah, Tony, so take it away from where do you want to start on your list, big guy?
You got to start where it counts. You got to start with quarterback,
You got to start with
and
quarterback? All right, all right.
you got to start with quarterback. And this was a no brainer. A no brainer. It's Fran Tarkenton. It is Fran Tarkenton. We haven't had a true franchise quarterback since him, maybe Dante Culpepper, but Fran Tarkenton in his second stint set the standard for Viking quarterback play. And yes, we did have Kramer, Wilson, a bunch of one and dones a season. I mean, Johnson, Cunningham, Culpepper was probably the longest, but since then we haven't been steady at quarterback in probably 30 years. And so you got to go with the guy that got you to the Super Bowls. As much as I'm not a fan of Fran's. I got to give the man respect, and I got to put him up there. He is the greatest Vikings quarterback of all time. So that's our
I never
quarterback.
I never got to see him play, but the stats and everything, getting to the Super Bowls, I can't argue with you. I just wish I would have been around at that time to see that level of quarterback play in a Vikings uniform.
Now, keep in mind, he would have drove you up the wall with his playing, and he was known to throw some interceptions at the most inopportune times. But he was, I mean, I talk about Joe Cap being competitive. Fran was competitive himself. So yeah, you got to have Fran there. One of the smartest guys to play the position. It's Fran Tarkenton. Bill had Fran up there too, of course. That's his guy, also. Um, Running backs. Okay, so let's explain this one here. Put two running backs, but here's the deal. Most people would have been, well, who was your fullback? Technically, Chuck Foreman was a fullback. Chuck Foreman was a fullback when he played in the NFL. Um, so he's, as far as I'm concerned, the greatest all-around running back in Minnesota Viking history. Now, the questionable one was Adrian Peterson. I'm not taking anything away from him on the field, but there were some things on the field that I didn't like about him either. It was the off the field stuff, and plus there was also I Robert Smith. There's Dave Osborne. There were guys that were just as good or more complete backs than Adrian. Adrian, for the a bruising runner that he was and the style that he ran, especially in this age of throwing the football, Adrian was a violent runner. He really was. But the man couldn't catch and he couldn't block. And he did fumble. So taking that into consideration, Chuck Foreman was my all-around back. Um, he could run, he could catch, he could block. Adrian was my pure runner, but I needed two running backs, so I put both of them in there. But I'll tell you what, I was leaning towards Robert Smith. I really was, because Robert Smith was a damn good, but a damn good player. But Adrian gets the nod. I mean, the guy was a beast. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. You can't deny it. Bill had the same thing too. So that's for the running backs. Now, here's where the controversy starts for me. As good as Chris Carter was, I was never a Chris Carter guy. I was never a fan of Chris Carter. So this one, and this is my opinion. But of course, I'm going to have Sammy White. I'm going to have Randy Moss there. Randy Moss, greatest wide receiver in Viking history. Point blank, none. My other one is Sammy White. Sammy White, back in the day, ran a lot of the routes that you did not run in the NFL. He ran the routes that would get you killed. We saw that in the Super Bowl. But Sammy was dependable. He was fast. He was also fast, and he could catch. So I leaned more towards Sammy White, and I'm not taking nothing away from Chris Carter, but Sammy White was just my preference. And then my wide receiver 3, Anthony Carter. Everybody forgets how good Anthony Carter was. Everybody forgets how much of a game breaker he was. The guy was fast, and he could catch. And people forget that. So I went with Randy Moss and Sammy White. Tight end. So I went with Steve Jordan. He set the standard for tight end play in Viking history. Jim Kleinsasser, I was seriously thinking about Jim Kleinsasser at tight end, but thinking back, I remember Kleinsasser more as a fullback, more than a tight end. So I went with Steve Jordan there. He was a true tight end. He could catch, he could block. He was a good player.
So, Tony, quick question on your list. Does durability play a factor in your positions as well?
Yeah, it
in
did.
Your receivers?
Yeah, it did.
Because his comment here about Sammy White probably being the toughest wide receiver he ever saw.
Yeah.
What is that about? Hard hits?
He took
just
the
in
hits.
traffic?
He took the hits in traffic. He took a lot of dirty hits. I mean, just that hit in the Super Bowl he took from Jack Tatum. He wasn't hit like that once. He was hit like that twice. So, he took the hits that the other wide receiver, Ahmad Rashad, wouldn't take. Ahmad worked the sidelines to where Sammy worked the middle of the field. Sammy and Joe Sensor. So Sammy got hit a lot, and he got hit hard, and he was durable. He started getting injuries towards the end of his career, but for the first 8-9 years of his career, the guy was durable as hell. So, that's what I went with. And then, like I said, Anthony Carter had that speed that nobody realized how fast he was. So that's why I made him my wide receiver 3. I could have made Chris Carter my wide receiver 3, but
Was Randy Moss the fastest in the league when he was in the league? When he was with the Vikings? It seems like he was just faster,
he was.
than anybody. Like he might have been one of the fastest players ever to step foot on a field, if I'm being honest.
Randy Moss was just in my lifetime, one of the most gifted wide receivers I've ever seen. I mean,
Yeah.
there wasn't a pass he couldn't. I mean, he made it look effortless, just going up for balls, just getting open, and all he had to do was raise his hand, and you knew to throw him the ball. Um, so Randy was just that. Randy was that once in a lifetime player. So no way I wasn't gonna. And Randy Moss got Brad Childress fired, so I'll always love him for that. But no
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
I wasn't keeping him off the list.
All right. To the meat and potatoes, Tony.
Oh,
The beefy boys. The
let's get
beefy
to
boys.
where it all starts. The line
This
of
is where you
scrimmage.
love. This is where you
Yep.
love, baby.
Where it all starts. I mean, there's an up and down this line is Hall of Famers. Ed White should be in the Hall of Fame. Let's be honest, people. He protected both Fran Tarkington and Dan Fouts, and he played at a Hall of Fame level his whole career as a guard. He should be in the Hall of Fame. But what do we got? We got Gary Zimmerman, Hall of Famer. Randall McDaniel, Hall of Famer. Mick Tingelhoff, Hall of Famer. Ron Yeary, Hall of Famer. That is a hell of an offensive line, folks. And the lightest one on that line would be Mick Tingelhoff. Mick was barely 240, but Mick was on there for length. He was with the team for 17 years. Randall McDaniel was with the team 11, 12, maybe 13 years before he ended up in Tampa Bay. Zimmerman had a falling out with Denny Green, so he got traded to Denver and won a Super Bowl. Ed White, of course, was traded for Ricky Young during his All-Pro. He was coming off a Pro Bowl year. And Ron Yeary played 15 years at right tackle. I mean, that offense line, and every one of these guys were durable. Never missed a game. The only time Ed White missed a game was because he was coming back from a holdout. But that is where it all starts, and that right there. I mean, outside of maybe Hutchinson, Matt Burke, and Tim Irwin, maybe Todd Stussy, I don't see anybody that can really argue with that line right there.
Hutchinson was a damn good guard.
But you know what, though?
He wasn't really a Viking, though, right? A lot of people
Yeah,
don't
I
consider him a
consider
Viking.
I consider Hutchinson a Seahawk.
Yep.
I do consider Matt Burke a Viking, but I mean, Mick Tingelhoff to play as long as he did and never miss a game. That right there, that set the standard for Viking offensive line. So you got to go with with Mick Tingelhoff at center. And the one that spent the less time on the Vikings was Ed White, but that was not his doing. He wanted to retire a Viking. So, yeah.
Milt Sunday, honorable mention.
Milt was good. He's a good swing man. I see when I was thinking of the team, I was thinking either Gary Zimmerman. I had Grady Alderman on my list at one time. I had Milt Sunday on that list. But I couldn't replace McDaniel and I couldn't replace Ed White. I had to roll with those guys. So it was, there was who else? I thought about Jeff Christie. I thought about David Dixon, Corey Stringer. I mean, it's a lot of tough choices on the line. A lot of tough choices.
Very tough.
Yeah.
Very tough.
Yeah.
All right. Thoughts in the chat? Thoughts in the chat on Tony's all-time offense? Let's get some feedback here. Give us a score, 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10. 10 being Tony nailed it. 1, Tony, you're fired.
Ain't nobody going to fire me. I'll raise hell.
Yeah, he mentioned Matt Burke. Solid choice as well. A lot of people could put him in there. Todd Sussy?
Todd Stussy?
Stussy, yeah.
I like Stussy. He had an attitude, which I loved. He took over we had a year where Everett Lindsay played, tackle. Everett Lindsey was actually pretty good. I know Everett. He's a pretty good, pretty cool guy. They drafted Stussy number 1 in '94, and he was a starter from day one with McDaniel. And they anchored that left side for what, 5, 6 years. So,
Okay, yeah.
but yeah, I thought I Stussy did cross my mind. So, um, like I
Tony, you
said,
got a
but
10, you got an A plus, and Kaz says count to 10. Good list,
oh,
buddy.
thanks, you guys, thank you.
Not
So,
just vintage. I mean, it happens to be Tony's got a larger viewing pool than some of us younger
it's
Vikings fans.
when you watch all the football I've watched, it's you forget about certain players, you forget about certain times, and as
Oh
you get
yeah,
older, it's kind of like, oh, okay, I remember this all of a sudden, I remember that all of a sudden. Um, so you're kind of like, uh, all of a sudden somebody brings up a player or something, you're like, holy, they were good, they were really good.
super
Um,
good.
yeah, so yeah, offense because um, offense wasn't
And
my thing, but
yeah,
the other side of the ball, that's my thing. So
I'm interested to see if anybody comes on later. If we get anybody on here who has got a problem, who might put Justin Jefferson in their all-time offense. I'm interested to.
here's a rule of mine too. When I put the all-time Vikings in there, I don't put players that are still playing. Now that being said, Harrison Smith did. I did think about Harrison Smith, but Harrison Smith might end up coming back to play with the team.
True,
So
true.
I kind of left it out there. But even if Harrison Smith had retired, it's hard to replace the guys that I have on that list.
More to be seen on Jefferson. I agree. I think Jefferson,
Yeah, I just
great
it's
start of his first 5, 6 seasons in the NFL. That is unquestioned, but
yeah,
a lot can happen, I guess, at the end, right?
yep.
So,
So
yeah. So let's move over to the defensive side of the ball. Or do you want to pause for a second and do coach and GM?
coach and GM, it's no question. The coach is Bud Grant. Bottom line,
Easy,
Denny
easy,
Green is a
easy
close
choice.
second. Easy choice.
Yeah, easy choice.
Now,
And then GM,
the one that built that Viking dynasty in the '60s and '70s, Jim Finks.
Jim
We
Finks.
have we haven't had a GM like Finks, and I wish to God we did have a, a GM like Finks. Um, so but
He's on there. In fact, he's on there.
those two were my cause. I made Anthony Carter my wide receiver 3. So, and Bob, I'm going to explain my defense right now. So
All right,
everybody,
let's get into the
buckle up.
defense.
Okay,
Yeah,
buckle up.
I don't think Quasi makes the cut. I don't think
Who?
you know what Quasi.
Who?
I don't think Quasi doesn't make the cut for your GM, right?
Who?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Never heard of her.
Never heard of the. Never heard of her. Oh, some guy who works in San Francisco's front office somewhere now. I guess I don't know.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Defensive side of the ball. Kick us out,
Okay.
buddy.
Here's the deal with defense. Now, this is up for debate, but I'm going to give my explanation. Everything. I went with the Purple People Eaters, the guys that were the ones that set the standard. Carl Eller, Jim Marshall, Alan Page at defensive tackle. Now, the other defensive tackle, there were a lot of options. I had Kevin Williams. I had John Randall. I had Hank Thomas, who, if I was going to make a 3-4, would be one of my considerations for nose tackle. I had Gary Larson, Doug Sutherland. I mean, I had options, but for those of us that saw Keith Millard play, Keith Millard before the injury was on pace to become another Hall of Fame defensive lineman for the Minnesota Vikings. That's how good he was. He was just a dominant defensive lineman. And actually, Keith Millard fit the mentality of the other 3. He just did. He was that old school, nasty, gonna get it to quarterback, cuss you out at the line of scrimmage type of guy. And he fit right in with those three. That's why I've got Millard on there. Now, for the defensive end position, yes, Chris Dome is in the Hall of Fame. Yes, Jared Allen is in the Hall of Fame. But you cannot have a list of all-time Vikings without the man who literally set the standard for Minnesota Viking players, and that's Jim Marshall. You have to have Captain Jim on that list. I mean, there's now, the younger generation, they don't know who Jim Marshall is. Literally, they don't. But us old hats that know that old school football, you cannot have an all-time greatest Vikings list and you do not have Captain Jim Marshall on that list. That's sacrilege. It is. So yeah, I went with, which to be honest, Keith Millard would have been great with the Purple People Eaters if he had played in that era. So
Al Noga, honorable mention.
Noga didn't play that long with the Vikings,
but great,
and
great player.
He was a good player. I mean, when he was on, he was on. He was an undersized defensive end. We drafted him as a defensive tackle, but I mean, he was only 6'1", playing defensive end, but he was so quick off the edge. Him and Dolman. I mean, he got 11 and a half sacks one year in 89, and then he got another 11 and a half in 92 with Dungy. So
Keith Millard almost killed Mike Tomczak.
He did. He chased him. Yeah, Millard got his helmet knocked off, and he was still chasing after Tomczak. I have to send. I got a picture of that. I'll have to send.
We gotta get that clip out. We gotta get that clip out. Maybe they got a clip of that.
Now, like I said, if I was playing a 3-4, I would have had like a true nose tackle. So I would have either went with. I had choices. I had Jerry Ball, Pat Williams, Linval Joseph. Henry Thomas was an all-pro at nose tackle. I probably would have went with, if a true nose tackle, I would have went with Pat Williams if I was running a 3-4 defense. My ends would have stayed the same, but my nose tackle would have been Pat Williams. So that would have been my choice if we were playing a 3-4. So
he needs to be in the Hall of Fame, Papa, you're right.
Now the linebackers. By the way, Bill had the same list for the defense too, the same front four. The linebackers. Now this is where it gets a little dicey. Matt Blair is a given. You cannot have Matt Blair's the greatest Viking linebacker of all time. He did it all. He could tackle. He could play pass defense. He could block kicks. Block kicks were his specialty. He was a 6-time All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler. He was literally the Viking defense in the early 80s. It was literally just Matt Blair. So Matt Blair goes on there. The other outside linebacker, this is where it got a little – I had to really think about this. I had a choice between Winston, Hilgenberg, Fred McNeil, even Mike Merriweather, Chad Greenway, Carlos Jenkins, Anthony Barr. There were choices that I could think about, but I couldn't pass on Roy Winston, who played, I believe, 15 years with the team and was a starter for most of those 15 years. So I rolled with him, and Roy could hit. If anybody watches highlights of the NFL films when the Vikings played the Dolphins in 72, Roy Winston, there's a couple of highlights there. Roy Winston puts a really big hit on Zonka and Jim Kick. I mean, the guy was just, he could play. He wasn't the biggest guy, but his shoulder pads made him look bigger than he really was. But he could really hit you. So I went with Roy Winston. And then, now middle linebacker, oh my gosh. Middle linebacker was A toss up for me between Jeff Seaman and Scott Studwell because they were both good. Both were good. Seaman was an all pro. He played in many Pro Bowls. Studwell was just the man. Studwell, that defense, he was a hitter. Um, and he's kind of got that football name, Scott Studwell. But I also had to think about, we had Jack Del Rio, who was good. We had EJ Henderson was decent. And we had Eric Kendricks. We had Lonnie Warwick, who was really the linebacker before Jeff Seaman took over. Lonnie Warwick was a hitter. But you couldn't pass up the fact that Scott Studwell is this team's all-time leading tackler. So I gave the nod to Scott Studwell. Bill gave the nod to Jeff Seaman. So we just differed on the linebacker. Cornerbacks and safeties. This is going to be okay. You got to have big play Bobby Bryant on the list. You have to. You needed a big play. Bobby Bryant was going to get it for you. The guy was an all-pro a couple times. He had 51 interceptions career. He was on all 4 Super Bowl teams. He missed 2 Super Bowls with injuries. But he wasn't the biggest. He was kind of frail. But he could play coverage. He could play defensive back in an era of defense where you could actually cover somebody. Cause and effect, if I had a 3-4 defense, I would have considered Henry Thomas for nose tackle. So, and now this is where it gets kind of different. I went with Carl Lee because Carl Lee was an all-pro when he played. But, we had Ed Shirachman, Ursel McBee, later on, we had a couple of other players. Corey Fuller was decent. But I went with Carl Lee because Carl Lee was on that 80s defense you didn't throw at him. You just did not. He went to a couple of Pro Bowls.
No Ed Schrockman?
No Ed Shirachman, although it was close, but Ed was good. Ed was dependable. Ed also split time with Ursel McBee. So, towards the end there, he split time with him and Bobby Bryant. So, yeah, I would have considered Ed Shirachman, but I went with Carl Lee because Carl Lee was part of the All-80s team, and he was an All-Pro during his playing days. Now, my nickel cornerback, if we're playing nickel, is Antoine Winfield.
He's got to be the most physical cornerback I've seen in my lifetime.
For your lifetime, yeah.
For my lifetime, I've
Yeah.
never watched a heat-seeking missile go in and literally turn a play up or literally like take a lead fullback on like with his little body.
Yeah, that was Antoine Winfield. And that's one of
the
the
guy
reasons I
played with an
made him,
intensity. It was just insane to me.
and that's the reason I made him the nickelback. Because honestly, everybody, when it came to like a nickel cornerback, I was actually leaning towards Ed Shirachman, but all of a sudden I remembered Antoine Winfield. So I made him my nickel cornerback. My safeties, no brainers, folks. I don't have Hitman on this list because I consider him still a player because I think he comes back this year for some reason. And even if he doesn't, with all due respect to the guys we have had back there, the Carl Kasulkis, the Hitman, Jeff Wright, guys like that, you got to have Joey Browner and Paul Krause. Joey Browner was one of those guys that would hit you at the drop of a hat. He was an old school defensive player. They'll never show the highlight, but Joey Browner is the reason for the horse collar rule because he ran down Gerald Wilhite in a Monday Night Football game at the Metrodome. He grabbed him by the back of his jersey and threw him down with one hand and ended Will Hite's career. Will Hite tore his knee so bad he never played football again. Um, Joey was just he was just that dominant type of he was a strong safety. Paul Krause's main job played center field. Um, and Paul will tell you himself, he didn't have the success he doesn't have the success he had if he doesn't have that front seven in front of him. So the Purple People Eaters. So yeah,
Honorable
so
mention, Carl Kasulki.
yeah, Carl Kasulki was I was considering Carl Kasulki. Um, Carl's career ended with a motorcycle accident on his way to training camp in '73.
Mm.
Um, but
He
he
died.
was
He died.
no, he lived. He lived, but he was
Oh,
paralyzed. He was paralyzed from the waist down. He lived. Carl passed away, I think, in '07 or '08. So, but I mean, Browner and Krause, I couldn't go wrong with those two. Um, they were just, and they were both all pros at their position. So, that's why I went with. So, did you make a graphic for the special teams?
no, no special teams. We're gonna cover that right now. So we got last but not least, we're gonna go kicker, punter, and kick returner for special teams.
Okay, so I remember my list. So this one I remember I can say off the top of my head. Kicker, got to go with the creator of the Nerf football, Fred Cox. You got to. He kicked with this team for years. He's your kicker. He was one of the leading scorers in NFL history when he retired. I think he was third. My punter, I went with Greg Coleman. He's probably the one that
Not Cox, huh?
Cox was a kicker. Coleman was a punter.
Oh, you're kidding. Okay. No Mitch Berger.
No, and he was good.
He was pretty good.
Yeah, he was good. But I went with Greg Coleman.
Greg Coleman.
Probably because he might have kicked here the longest as a punter.
True.
My
True.
my long snapper, we all know him and love him, the superstar Mike Morris.
Yep.
Great guy. Judas Priest fan. So yeah, got to go with Mike Morris. My kick returner. Okay, a lot of people forget how good this guy was when he was with the Vikings. My kick returner is David Palmer. A lot of people forget how good and how much of a weapon David Palmer was. So he is my kicker. My punt returner, I went with the Minnesota kid, Marcus Sherrills, for punt returner. And my special team player, the one that did all the dirty work on special teams, I went with Chris Walsh as the special teams guy. So, I mean, I could have went with Bill Brown. I could have went with Keith Nord. Bill went with Keith Nord. I forget who he had for kick returners, but yeah.
We'll touch base on Bills real quick here, but yeah, no, Tony rocked his list, and yeah, no, I don't think anybody's really arguing with your list at all. They'd be crucifying you or anything, but everybody seems to be so far.
And remember,
Tons of yeah, totally subjective.
It's totally subjective to all the football you've watched, who you've watched over the years, and those are just my preferences. Everybody's going to be different. Yes, Norpheus, he was a Minnesotan. Keith was a Minnesotan. R.I.P.
We will. Okay, so here's Bill's all-time offense. We'll just go through a little bit, and we'll just touch base on Bill's. So he's not here, but very similar as you guys see it now. Bill actually puts
Bill's
Chris
got Chris
Carter in his
Carter.
top three. Yep.
Yeah, he's got
Anthony
Chris
Carter,
Carter.
Chris Carter, and Randy Moss.
Yep.
Almost identical, but does have Randall McDaniel at left guard.
That's where I had him.
Yes, you had him, and then
Yeah.
Ed White, then Ron Yari, right tackle.
Ron Year, yeah, that's the exact same line that we had. Everything, our list is the same except for the wide receiver too. I had Sammy White. He's got Chris Carter.
I
So
thought one of you guys would maybe put in, what was the receiver? Hassan Jones?
I liked Hassan, but I just couldn't put him in there. There were other receivers ahead of him that were just as good.
Just as
So
good.
yeah. So
Let's and move over to wow, tight end. This guy was 6 Pro Bowls. Man, that guy
yeah,
actually looks like a
Steve
stud.
Jordan was, dude. Steve
He
Jordan
was
was
a
a
stud.
beast. He was a beast. Here's a funny part: Jordan in 1985 caught 68 passes, did not score a touchdown on any of them.
Oof.
He did not score a touchdown on any of them.
All right. Bills defensive side of the ball. So he's rocking with Jim Marshall, Keith Millard, Alan Page, Carl Eller, same as Tony's.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Blair takes the Jeff Seaman. A little bit of a separation at
Well,
linebacker
he's
for you
also got
guys.
he's got Wally Hilgenberg. Where I had
Yep.
Roy Winston, he's got Wally Hilgenberg, which you can't go wrong with that one either because Hilgenberg and Winston actually played together for years. So you can't go wrong with that one either. But our secondary is the same. So
Secondary is the
yeah,
same.
it was like a couple of different things, but for the most part, it was, like I said, you can't go wrong with Hilgenberg or Winston. You can't go wrong with Seaman or Studwell. So yeah, I mean, that's a if you think about it, now that I look at it, that's both the lists are pretty damn good. So
The real question is, could this Vikings team altogether get the job done, or would they find a way to screw it up?
well, most of them were on the teams that found a way to screw it up, so it's hard to say. And plus, I got this,
Oh, that's funny.
and I've got the same head coach that was the head coach when they found a way to screw it up. So who knows?
True, true.
Who knows? Um,
If
but
anybody
yeah,
has any special ideas or huge differences in their list and ours, feel free. We'd love to get your opinion. If you want, I'll drop the link and we can have you guys come up. If you have any big grievances or you want to discuss a position that you think that we missed or something, I'll drop the link in a few minutes here. We can have a little chit chat with you guys to end the stream. So, um, yeah, I mean, for me, I can't argue with any of your list, Tony and Bill, obviously. I didn't get to see a lot of those guys, so I'll have to take your word for it. But in my lifetime, I think I do have to take the Williams Wall as my defensive line.
that's, and that's preferential. Like I said, I could have put Kevin Williams on that list, but I could not. I can't replace.
Uh-oh, uh-oh.
Oh, D Woods, why? This is a stress-free podcast, and you come in here with Kirk.
All
Oh
right.
my
We'll
God.
open it up to you guys for a little bit. We'll let you guys chill with us and chat with us. I'll drop the link here. Feel free to come on if you have any huge grievances on your list, our list, or want to argue with somebody who you think should be on the list, who we totally miscategorized or think we missed it. Pop in the
All I
chat.
gotta
Pop
say
in.
is,
We'll give you a couple minutes with us.
if you're gonna argue a point, please have a valid point.
Please have a valid point.
I'm gonna debunk it in about 10 seconds.
Um, you know what? I can only imagine what having a coach like Bud Grant would be like in today's NFL. They don't grow a lot. I don't know. You know what I mean? There's so many bad coaches that like, the few good coaches get to kind of be in the league as long as they want. I mean, look at it like this. Pete Carroll can be in the league as long as he wants. Uh,
And Pete Carroll was in the league forever because he won a Super Bowl.
yeah. What is it? Andy Reid can be in the league as long as he wants.
He's won multiple. He's won multiple Super Bowls.
Sean McVay could probably be in the league as long as he wanted.
Sean
So
Payton.
Sean
Well,
Payton,
it also says that the pool for good quality head coaches might be thin now. It really does, because a lot of these younger coaches that they're bringing in, some of them can't cut it as far as running a team and putting a team together. Some do, some don't. I mean, it's there's more sides to football than just.
Matt, can you hear us, buddy?
They'll do a sweep through the building and that's it.
Can you hear us, Matt?
Yeah.
Hey, what you got, man? Tell us how we did. Any thoughts?
Well, most of my stuff was in the comments, and the only reason I would put Jim Kleinsasser over Steve Jordan is because he could play tight end and fullback. But Steve Jordan was great,
I wasn't gonna
and I'm
put
glad he put my boy Matt Blair on there.
I wasn't gonna put Kleinsasser. Kleinsasser, if I was gonna put him on the list, he would have been a fullback. But Chuck Foreman was technically a fullback, so I wasn't gonna put him over Chuck. I'm not putting anybody over Chuck. I'm not even putting AP over Chuck. Chuck was the greatest back we ever had. Bottom line.
Do you know why I have Chuck Foreman as the best running back ever? What he did was in less games than nowadays. You
Honestly,
have a
Chuck
17
Foreman,
game, you have a 17 game season now. You only had 13 games back then.
13, yeah.
And he was a way better receiving running back than Peterson ever will be.
Chuck was our third wide receiver.
And in the 70s, he created the best moves ever by a running back. That's why they call him the spin doctor. The way he would move on the field was like a ballerina.
And what's his name used him too much, which Bud Grant even admitted he used him too much. So no, but
I just couldn't believe when I actually got a card one time and I seen Chuck Foreman with the Patriots. Oh, that's just heartbreaking, man.
Yeah, funny thing was Mike Lynn called him into the office and said, "What would you like to see us do for next off season?" Chuck gave his input. Next day, he was traded to the Patriots.
So many good Vikings with different teams, man. Fucking
that's because
Paul with the Seahawks, Alan Page with the Bears.
Yep.
Fucking.
That was because of Mike Lynn.
Hey, yeah. Thanks for popping on, Matt. We appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's. I mean, when you think about it, that's why I put Jim Finks as our best GM, because Finks came in. He's the one that got the only hiccup on Finks was about the Joe Cap situation, and that was on Joe Cap. But the only reason Finks left was because he wanted part ownership in the team. Max Winter wouldn't give it to him, so he resigned. And Mike Lynn got the gig because he was basically a fanboy. He wrote a letter to Max Winter saying how much he liked him and all that other stuff. So Mike Lynn hung around with Max Winter for a year, and then in '75, Max Winter named him GM.
If you had a runner-up QB, Tony, and it wasn't Fran, who would you start?
Dante.
Joe Cap?
Dante.
Over Joe Cap. Wow.
Yeah. Joe Cap, as good as Joe Cap was, his strong point was leadership. He couldn't throw worth a damn.
You know what? I never hear people bring up Tommy Kramer. He was this great guy.
And I liked Kramer. Now, which version of Tommy did you want, sober or drunk?
Yeah, I heard you got two different Tommies.
Yeah, so I mean, Tommy was a gamer. I mean, Tommy, you'd be in a game with Tommy. Tommy could throw 5 interceptions in one game and 2 touchdowns, but one of those TDs would have been the game winner. That's just the way Tommy Kramer was.
Oh, sure, sure.
He was competitive. I mean, I think we've had some backs, but
last call, Tommy. Last call.
Yeah, there wasn't a bar in the Twin Cities Tommy Kramer didn't close. There wasn't a bar in the Twin Cities he didn't close. His running buddy at one time was Scott Studwell, but then Scott Studwell got cleaned up. So,
give me your strongest position. I think this is a given, but what do you guys think in the chat too? I'm going to ask Tony. What do you think our strongest position group right now on the 2026 Viking is on the offensive side of the ball and the defense side of the ball?
Offense is wide receivers, and that's not by much. Defense, I don't know.
I think we do have a pretty strong linebacker core. I could be. That's where I'm leaning. What do you think?
No.
Cashman, Wilson?
No. Cashman's an injury waiting to happen. So is Van Ginkel. It would be linebacker, but I mean, this team is not very. Once you get
Yeah,
past the,
it's a tough question. It's a very tough question. I agree. Um,
once you get past the starters, we're screwed. Put it that way, we're screwed.
yeah, yeah. I mean, wide receiver, and you could argue that the wide receivers are being so good in Minnesota now is because our wide receiver coach, I think his name is Keenan McCardell,
Yeah.
and um, he's been able to do a lot, with a lot of different
My whole
players. I
thing
think he's been with
is
the Vikings for a long time.
Minnesota's always been a team historically where they've been stout on the line of scrimmage, the offensive lines and defensive lines, and they've been physical. We haven't had that since the current idiot has taken over the team. Um, we're soft. We're beyond soft. And I mean, I would love to go back to that era where these guys at the line of scrimmage, it was dictated at the line of scrimmage. Now this team is so soft, they're trying to be a finesse team and they suck at it. It's like, just get back to playing hard-nosed football. That's why this team is so hard to watch, because they will get knocked around on both sides of the ball. And that comes from coaching.
Yeah,
And
you
that's
can
just that.
definitely see that the era or the culture in the league is shifting away from that style of play. Going
You've
back
got
from all the way, yeah.
because I'm gonna be perfectly blunt about it. These players nowadays have to be the softest players in all sports. They're soft.
Hmm.
They are soft. They don't want to hit. They don't want to get hit. They want the highlights, but they don't want to really put in the work. Um,
And it's not necessarily even the players need to be. It's a mentality, right? It's you don't need the biggest and strongest players. You need a mentality. Like you look at we just talked about Antoine Winfield, like historically small guy, but you know what I mean, laid it out on the line. Stuff like that. You don't
it's
see that from a lot of. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe tell me I'm wrong. I
no,
don't see that.
you're not wrong. It's a joke. This game is a joke. Um, what Roger Goodell and the owners have done to this game, they've sold it to the highest bidder. They've sold it to corporate Vegas. They're only worried about their bottom dollar. And now you got Goodell talking about, we're going to expand over into Europe. Why? Why not? Because of gambling. That's why they're going to expand over there. I mean, the product it's a shit show. It really is.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's tough.
I mean, back in the old school, I mean, put it this way, we're in preseason, right? Old school players and old school coaches, you had your starters play in preseason to be ready for the regular season. You take the hits, you take the bumps. So when it comes opening day, you're ready for that. Now, with management stepping in and with all these players making the money that they're making, management doesn't want to, they don't want like a Justin Jefferson to play at all in preseason, because what if they get hurt? There goes our advertising. There goes our ticket. There goes the reason people should watch us. You know what? If you got a stout team, people will watch you. If you're just going to rely on one player to sell tickets, you've already lost, especially in a team sport.
You think it was maybe the rise of was fantasy football always a thing, even in like the 80s? Or was fantasy
It
football a
was
thing?
it was until the NFL got involved and made money at it.
Mm.
Fantasy football was always like a thing that you did with friends and stuff like that, and in the office. Once it took off, once the NFL got involved with it, it changed everything.
Do you see them possibly could be making European teams to this league?
No, the 4 European teams.
Yeah, is that
Yeah,
a real possibility, you think?
Goodell put it out there. That's why they're playing all those games over in Europe. They want to get the market for it. They want to gauge it and see it's been successful. So if they could do it on a permanent thing, they would do it. Bob Swede, I agree with you. Doug Martin was good. Like I said before, holdouts and injuries are what ended his career. We just lost him this year too. So that's right, Davey. You built the calluses in practice. You built it. So you were ready for game day. That's why you're going to have, and I've said this before, for the first 3-4 weeks of the NFL, you're going to have some sloppy football.
Well, and that brings up a problem because if teams practice differently, right? Um, correct me if I'm wrong, and injuries have always been a thing, but it seems like with the way that it's played now, or maybe the way that these practices and training camps are all run, it's just making people get injured more and more. The injuries are going up. I would like to, that's a stat I really should have somebody look up. Maybe I'll research it. Since like, the changing of these 2 days, when Corey Stringer died, stuff like that, maybe if that was the turning point, is if
It wasn't.
injuries in
It
training
wasn't.
camp have gone up or if they stayed the same or have gone down. I feel they've gone up, in my opinion, but
Here's the thing: compared to the old school, yeah, Corey Stringer's death changed everything because
or maybe
when there's
everybody just got hurt before, but they played hurt more. Maybe that's
there was
what
that,
I'm
but there
not
was also
understanding.
this too. The players' conditioning was actually more geared towards game conditioning. These guys are great at doing jumping jacks and lifting weights and all that other stuff, but when you start running and cutting and moving and twisting and turning, they get hurt. They're not built for that. I mean, look at the wide. We've got wide receivers in the league that, my God, if they take a hit, you're going to break them in two. Just look at their legs. Just look at them. And a lot. Here's another thing too. Receivers nowadays can go across the middle and catch passes, not worry about getting hit. When I put Sammy White on that list, because Sammy White was one of many wide receivers that did the dirty work and would run the passes over the middle, knowing they were going to get clocked, knowing it. Yeah, the only knock on Bud was the Super Bowl was in 2 weeks. The Vikings would take a week off, and then they would prepare for the Super Bowl. But the worst part about that, Cool Papa Bell, and I don't know if you've heard this or not, on the offensive side of the ball, especially for the Pittsburgh and Oakland Super Bowls, the Vikings changed their offensive game plan from what got them there to the Super Bowl to something completely different. And you're like, okay, you're only getting ready for a week, so you're going to put in a whole new, different offense with 1 week's preparation for the biggest game of the year? You don't. That's something you do for 2 weeks. You put it in 1 week, and then Chuck Foreman talked about it. Chuck Foreman was like, all he heard out of Jerry Burns in the meetings was like, we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't run this play, we can't run that play. So Chuck is like, okay, what the hell can we do? You're not telling us what we can run that will work. You're telling us what won't work. And for me, this is where I get on Fran Tarkenton. Fran was the leader of that offense. Where was Fran to say something about changing the offense? That's, because in a perfect world, in the real world, you've got the ball at the 1 yard line against the Raiders. You're not giving the ball to friggin' Brett McClanahan and running behind Steve Riley and Chuck Goodrow. You're giving the ball to Chuck Foreman and you're running behind Ed White and Ron Yeary. Bottom line. So,
All right, before we take off, give me one player you're most excited about this year and one player you're most concerned about.
most concerning is Kyler Murray. Bottom line.
Expound. Why? KOC, play calling, offense, play style,
KLC play
all of
calling.
it.
You've adjusted the offense to him, and he's shown in the last 2 years that he's erratic. He showed it even before. He is a turnover machine. And he is limited. Yeah, he does the splash plays, but guess what? He will also throw a ball up there that will cost you. So, and Brandel at center is another one. That's another one too. Thank you, Davey. Brandel at center. Don't know if Brandel's going to even. They need to get another center. They do. The player I think will be fine. Dallas Turner. Barring injury, he should get 10 sacks. Barring injury.
Interesting.
Um,
For me, yeah, my most concerning definitely is going to be the center. Actually, is coach a position? I guess
yes.
I'm most concerned about our coach, for just consistency and whether he can coach a full 4 quarters, make adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
I think this team has proven on paper we have the talent and the players to actually make a deep run, actually. But it all comes down to, your scheme and how you approach games and stuff. So
Yeah, and I don't.
players in the best possible position to make them succeed. And I don't want to say he has done that a horrible job, but I don't think he's done the best job or the job that's going to be required enough to get us to a Super Bowl. I'll say that.
Oh,
KOC.
Giraffe?
Yeah,
No, he hasn't.
he hasn't
He,
done enough. And that's what
yeah,
I think all Vikings fans and analysts should start asking. He's
you know what
done
he's
some
done?
things, okay,
You know
but
what
he
he's
hasn't
done?
done enough.
He's done the minimum to keep his job.
Yeah.
He's done the minimum to keep his job. Outside of that, no. You know,
Yeah, I mean, you're right, Jared. We've had 17 quarterbacks, the most in the divisions in 1990 since 1993. Four different starting quarterbacks for the last 4 years, specifically
yeah.
under KOC. Um, Now the argument, Tony, is, well, people like Sam Darnold go in and win one in 1 year. That's not consistent, and that's not what you want to hang your hat on. I don't think.
It's you know what, and Minnesota Viking and the Vikings now. There are things that are etched in his franchise's brain now that's going to keep him from doing things. The Herschel Walker trade is still one of them, and the fact that they let Darnold walk and he won a Super Bowl is going to be another. So this team is just going to be they're going to be their own worst enemy. The Vikings don't need, like I said before, the Vikings don't need anybody from the outside to come and screw up things. They will do it themselves from within. They always have and they always will. They don't need help being a screw up. They got themselves to be the screw up. So I mean, and it's just.
Do we believe in curses in the chat? Do we believe in curses? I need to know.
It could be, but I mean, I'm just realist. I mean, there's just we do some stupid crap that sets us back. We do, whether it be a trade, whether it be the way we play, whether it be
Everything starts at the top. Yep, everything starts at the
it
top.
does. And
We don't
okay,
have the worst
so,
ownership. I don't think we have the best ownership. We don't have the worst ownership. But
so I'm
like
going
I
to put
said,
this out there. So here's where I'm going to piss off a lot of Viking fans. Everything that is wrong with this team is because of the Wilfs. At the moment, it is because of the Wilfs and because of the circus they created with the whole Harbaugh and Kevin O'Connell thing.
woof, woof, woof. We hope so, Norse. I shouldn't say that. I hope the man has a good season. I hope the man has the best season of his life, and we can all rejoice with a Super Bowl, something we've always wanted here in Minnesota.
Yeah, but until he does, get him the hell out of here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if it's going to be another year of, well, we made the playoffs, let's see what happens. Screw that. I'm done with it.
You know what's crazy? I was thinking about this. Even if the Vikings let him go at the end of this year, the league is so high on him, Tony. I think he would get another job like that next year.
Yeah, because mediocre is where it's at. The league wants mediocre. Bottom line.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
they want mediocre.
That's
Roger
crazy to me.
Goodell, mediocre. It's just, I think it's a societal thing. Mediocre is best. Nobody strives to be the best anymore. Nobody strives to be the top dog. Mediocre. The Wilfs, ever since they got here, as long as they're better than the Packers, it's a great year. Doesn't matter if you make the playoffs or not. So, I mean, it's true. It's to the point now where I'm just, we haven't had, and this is Viking front office. This team hasn't had a real GM since Jim Finks. And that's been 50 years. They haven't had a real GM since Jim Finks. They haven't had a real football person in there since Jim Finks.
I'm most excited for Nolan Teasley. I want to see if he's just going to toe the line for the Wilfs or if he's going to make some waves.
I'm going to pump the brakes on Teasley. He's got to show me something first.
I mean, he doesn't have to do anything this season, right? It's not his roster. He didn't draft it. I mean, he pretty much can just take a front row, get the popcorn out, and just watch, right?
He's in, but here's what I'm hearing from my connection. He's in lockstep with Kevin O'Connell.
I mean, they should be to a point, right? In a healthy, would you say, or no?
No,
Not even
I didn't
close?
hire you. I didn't hire you. I mean, everybody thinks because the Wills put up this thing that Quasi and KLC were in lockstep. Quasi didn't
But they
hire
weren't.
Kevin
Yeah, they
O'Connell.
weren't. Yep.
He didn't hire him. The person that Quasi wanted to hire, the Wilfs ran out of the building.
And that's another thing. We do stupid very well, Davey. I mean, we can't go back in time, right? We can't know what our last 4 years would have been like with Harbaugh. In my opinion, I think we would have been closer to a Super Bowl or consistently, not less inconsistent, but the jury is out to be on that for sure. So
It's hard to say. I know we would have been a more physical and more competitive team.
and that's worth
Especially
it.
at
You
the,
know, if you have a
especially at the
coach you
line
think
of,
that's going to burn out in 4 years, but he's intense or something, wouldn't you take that as a Vikings fan? Wouldn't you take
I
that if it
would
gets us closer
I
to a Super
would
Bowl?
take it over heartbeat because guess what? I'm sick of looking at, and I've said it ever since Kevin O'Connell got here. These Viking teams that Kevin O'Connell has put on the field have to be the softest Minnesota Viking teams I have ever seen. And when I say soft, I mean beyond don't hit me, don't touch me. They're soft.
Mm,
They are.
yeah,
There's nothing intimidating. There's nobody. I look at this roster up and down. There is nobody that I look at that puts fear if I'm an opposing coach that I'm scared of. Nobody.
yeah,
They all got names and all that shit, but they're half the time they're hurt, and half the time they just, it looks like they're going through the motions. They're not physical.
yeah, yeah.
It's just Bob. We didn't let Finks go. Finks left because he wanted ownership in the team. He wanted part ownership in the Vikings after Super Bowl VIII. Max Winter wouldn't give it to him. So Jim Finks resigned. So
All right.
that's how you ended up with Mike Lynn.
Before we go, one last question: Who is the leader in this Minnesota locker? Who's the leader in this Minnesota locker room right now?
God only knows. I have no
Hmm.
idea. I have no idea.
Who do you think, Davey? That's a really. Hey, if you're gonna go for a physicality guy to be a leader to pump you up, I can't argue with this comment.
I would go with Demings, but you know what? As soon as he starts playing and he's physical like that, they'll start throwing flags on him, and that'll screw up his whole game.
They can't call every play though. They can't call
Oh,
every
yes,
play.
they
He'll
can.
figure.
Yes, they
Uh,
can. You haven't watched
he'll learn
NFL
pretty
games in
quick.
recent years. You haven't watched enough NFL games in recent years. If that offense is not moving or they're stagnant in some kind of way, the defense is shutting them down, they will start throwing flags repeatedly to help that offense that isn't looking good get down that field to get some sort of points. They will. They just will. Unless
I
that team
mean,
is
it's got to
friggin'
be
bad.
it's got to be Justin Jefferson. I mean, who else is the leader of the locker room? I don't know. Maybe
Okay, there's a
maybe
difference.
KOC's wife
There's a
who's calling the
difference.
shots for
There's a
him. I don't know.
difference. Justin Jefferson is the face of the team. He is not a leader. He's not vocal.
Hmm.
He's not none of that. He's not like a Joe Cap. He's not like somebody the players will rally around, have their back, and go to war with. He's just the face of the team. He sells the tickets and the jerseys.
Yeah,
That's all
yeah,
he
yeah.
does.
You're right. Leadership and face of the team is very different.
There's a
Usually they would
big
go hand in
freaking
hand.
difference.
Yep, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, there's a
You're
big
right.
frizzing difference. There's nobody on this team that is that Joe Cap type of guy or is that Jim Marshall type of guy. Nobody.
I think there is a person on the league who does have the leadership qualities, but he will not be playing, and that is number 9, sir. Number 9, sir.
Well, yeah, that's because the head coach is a dick. That's
I
because the head
mean,
coach is just an idiot.
that's what's so
It's just
crazy to me is this man might not have the perfect, throwing motion or the most accurate, and stuff like. But I mean, I just wish you could like morph like that leadership quality into like something else. It's hard to
so.
get that leadership quality.
Somebody answer me this question, and I'll leave it here for all the Einsteins out there. Jim Harbaugh played quarterback in this league for 15 plus years. Was played at top level
True.
quarterback. He had no problem with J.J. McCarthy's throwing motion or anything like that.
True.
Kevin O'Connell gets hold of him, He wants to change his footwork. He wants to change his motion and all this other shit. Who the hell is Kevin O'Connell? He never played a friggin' down in the NFL. He was a backup, and he was a third string to friggin' Tom Brady. He wasn't even active on the fucking game day roster. He was a third string emergency quarterback, but yet we've got this guy as like this quarterback guru, this offensive whisperer. Him and Josh
he's never to be called quarterback whisperer again. He is never to be called quarterback whisperer again in my presence.
What is it? What is it? Is the bar so low that somebody like Kevin O'Connell is now like a friggin' guru? I mean, face it, there are some fans here in Minnesota that got Kevin O'Connell right next to Bud Grant.
Yeah, that's true.
There are. And that's
But you bring up a good point, because Jim Harbaugh did play at a high level, and people aren't giving him the amount of credit. They're saying, well, he just relied on a heavily run game at Michigan. Okay, well, like, is he supposed to like apologize for that or something?
Okay, here's first things first. Who cares how you win? You win. Yeah. Bottom line is he won. Bottom line is he got a championship. All the ones that are complaining about him wish they could have got one. But guess what? Don't apologize for winning. You do not have to have an apology because you did it a certain way and it worked and you were the top dog. Okay? The ones that should be asking the questions are the ones that are questioning you, and they should be asking questions themselves as to why they're not the top dog.
Well, and I say this with all respect, those people in that press room, shame on you for just towing the line and just asking softball layup questions to this man and letting him just give you answers that just continue this legacy of mediocrity for this team.
Here's the thing, and this is a history thing too. Bill would attest to it too. We're old enough to remember. We remember what the press did to Denny Green. But
they crucified him.
The Twin Cities press was also not nice to Jerry Burns, and they really, towards the end there, were not nice to Bud either. They were critical of those guys. It's funny. They were critical of Tice. They had to be critical of Childress as much as the Wilfs tried to do their PR moves. They couldn't beat it. They were critical of all the coaches, even Zimmer. But with friggin' this clown today, he's just he walks on water.
Yep. Well,
yeah, KLC thinks he knows everything. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
It's either his way or the highway. So we'll see what happens. I don't have much hope for this season. Thank God I've got history to talk about, because
I'm just excited to watch football. I'm just excited to watch football again, because there's a ton of different storylines that happen throughout the year. I mean, that's the great thing about this league. Maybe a team will pop up. Maybe the Carolina Panthers will get hot. Maybe the New Orleans Saints. I saw one person said the New Orleans Saints are going to go 11-6. Who knows? That's a great thing about this league.
You know what, though, Tech? I don't give a fuck as long as it's the Minnesota Vikings, and I don't see it. I don't care what the Saints do. I don't care what the Panthers do. I don't care what anybody does. My main focus is
football. I just love good football. I mean,
and that's what? That's probably like with us old school guys. A lot of people will say, "Well, you're just old school. The football today is better." No, it's not. No, it's not. It really isn't. It's overproduced. It's overexposed. That's another thing too. It's overexposed. And there's no way to kill your product more than if you overexpose it and you put it out there to where everybody's seeing it. You've made it more of an entertainment thing instead of like a game or an event, a sporting event. It's an entertainment thing. That's why if the NFL had a chance, they would play every night of the week. They would.
Yeah, that's true.
They would play every night of the week. You've already got the season starting on a Wednesday, people. Yeah. So they're going to have Wednesday, Thursday, and then Sunday. The only reason they gave Friday and Saturday up, I think, was to high schools and colleges. But other than that, if the NFL could do it, if these owners could do it, their product would be on every single friggin' night of the week.
That's true. Well, we are at 8:10. We do want to say thank you. A huge shout out. If you guys wouldn't mind, go ahead and hit that like button. We really appreciate you tuning in and chilling with us, getting the history on. Today was a great show. Sorry we missed out on Bill. We appreciate you guys always coming in. It's great to get the history, and I think we're growing a little bit of a community here, so I really like it. So
I want
until
to
you
thank
guys
I
then,
want to
yeah.
thank I want to thank everybody for coming in. Uh, Davey, Matt, Bob, uh, Luft, everybody that came on, Cool Papa Bell. Thank you for the support. Thank you for listening to this old guy ramble on about history. Thank you for listening to me vent my frustration with this team. We all have it. It's like it's when you vent like we do, there's a passion there. We could be like, yeah, let's just let it go. Let's just, blah, 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 whatever, move on. But when you hear me or Bill or Tech say the things we say, we're not saying it because we hate this team. We're saying it because we want this team to get better. We want this team to win a Super Bowl. There's nothing wrong with being critical of your favorite team. That's what this team actually needs because they've gotten a pass ever since our good buddy was hired as head coach. There needs to be accountability. And like I said before, I think Bill would agree with me, and I know Tech agrees with me. As a Viking fan, I'm sick of mediocre. I'm sick of just making the playoffs. Get to the Super Bowl and win it.
I'll give you a hint, Davey. How do you think my blood pressure is these days from this Vikings
Yeah,
stuff?
Davey, I'm not the one with the blood pressure problem this time.
I guess it's me with the blood pressure. See you guys next week. Vintage Vikings. Love you guys.
Take care, everyone.